What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. Now, most of you know that our main channel was deleted a couple of weeks ago for absolutely no reason, and so luckily we did have this channel where we can do college football content. I've moved all of my gaming content, simulations, things like that, over to the gaming channel. If you're missing that content, go over there, check it out. There's going to be a link in the description of this video. But we are working on these rosters for NCAA football. You can get our updated rosters if you join our Patreon. In this video, I'm going to just kind of go through and show you the top players. I'm going to go through each position and show you the top players. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is how I would rank these players, but putting in our formula and the way the game does formulate an overall rating for each player, that's how the ratings are going to look here, and just to show you who the top players might be this upcoming season. So I realize this is kind of a gaming video, but it's also looking at some of the top players, and I did want to just remind or let all of you know that we do have our simulations and things over on that gaming channel. We've started off with some of the big games. We've already done Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon, Georgia, Utah, Florida, as we will kind of go through the entire season. If you're wondering about the rosters, where we are in the process, all the Power 5 teams have been updated with the first update, meaning players from last year have been removed. Transfers have been added. Some teams have had the freshmen added. They've had their complete roster. Some teams have not. Hoping to have all those Power 5 teams 100% complete here in the next few weeks. And then we will jump on the group of 5 teams. So not a completed roster just yet. It is a long process. I do it all by myself, and it does take a long time. But if you want to help support that project or just support the channel, again, we did have our main channel deleted, so I am taking a bit of a hit right now. If you'd like to support us, just join the Patreon. It's only $5 a month. So here are your top players overall. Will Anderson and Bryce Young, 99. They are the two 99s. Jackson Smith and Jigba, a 98. You see Jordan Addison, a 97, has been added to USC. CJ Stroud, a 97. Josh Downs, a 97. Jake Moody of Michigan at 97. Brock Bowers. A lot of people saying that Michael Mayer should be the top-rated tight end. I would agree with Brock Bowers. I mean, have you seen this guy play? I mean, he's unreal. So I do agree with that rating. I may not agree with all of these ratings, but I do agree that he is the best tight end in the country heading into 2022. Then you see Xavier Worthy, Bijan Robinson. How about two Texas guys, both 96 overall? And these will be updated more as we go through the offseason and depth charts kind of come out. So these ratings could still change some, but especially these top players, they're probably not going to change much. There's Michael Mayer, 96, just one spot below Bowers, so it's not like he has a bad rating. So let's just go through the positions now, as you just see some of the top overall players. We're going to go through each position and just look at the top players. Starting at quarterback, and you will see some generic players there from the group of 5 teams. Just ignore those players. They will be updated soon. Bryce Young, the top-rated quarterback. CJ Stroud, the second highest-rated quarterback. Then there's a pretty big gap to Sam Hartman and Hendon Hooker, both 92 overall. Hendon Hooker, I think, is really underrated, and his speed does help his overall rating. NCAA football uses speed in a big way, even for quarterbacks. So, like, if he was a pocket passer with his passing stats, he would not be a 92, but because of his running ability, that's why he jumps all the way up to a 92. There is Brennan Armstrong, a 91. Caleb Williams, a 91. KJ Jefferson, a 91. Spencer Rattler, a 90. Dylan Gabriel is a 90. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, an 89. Another guy that I think people are sleeping on a little bit. Aiden O'Connell of Purdue, an 89. Spencer Sanders, again, running ability is big. He's an 88. He might be the fastest quarterback. Really, I just kind of want to show the guys in the 90s. I'm just curious who the fastest quarterback is. Oh, it's actually Logan Smothers and Jason Bean. They're 89 overall. The speeds do come from NFLDraftScout.com. So, I mean, if you disagree, I'm sorry. It's not my personal pick or anything. It's just what they have the 40 times there. I use those, put them into my formula to convert them to speed ratings, and that's how it comes out. They're not perfect, but I haven't had many complaints. A lot of people, especially if you've actually played with these rosters, everyone seems to really like them. So there's actually several guys with an 88 speed. I'm surprised here. Even Bryce Young. Well, I didn't even notice Bryce Young was an 88. You don't think of him as a runner, but he does have good speed. And Malik Hornsby's probably faster than that. I mean, he's ridiculously fast. and moving to wide receiver, I believe. Once that's official, I will make that change on the roster. So just curious who the fastest guys were there from the quarterbacks. Let's go to the running backs now. Blake Corum is he's the fastest. We need to get back over here to overall. Bijan Robinson, a 96. There is Sean Tucker of Syracuse, a 95. Deuce Vaughn, also a 95. Braylon Allen of Wisconsin, a 94. Travion Henderson of Ohio State, a 94. Zach Charbonnet, a 93. Chris Rodriguez dealing with some legal issues. I don't know if he's even going to play. He's on the roster right now, but we'll see how that plays out. Again, if he's suspended, if he's suspended, he'll stay on the roster. If he gets kicked off the team, he will be removed from the roster, of course. Blake Corum, a 92. Jahmyr Gibbs, Alabama, transfer coming in from Georgia Tech. Tavion Thomas of Utah, 91. Travis Dye, 91. Mo Ibrahim. The injury last year maybe set him back a little bit. He has a chance to be a 95 guy this year, in my opinion. Devin Achane, a 90. Bentley, coming over from SMU, very underrated guy. He's a 90 overall. Will Shipley's a 90. Pat Garwo of Boston College, a 90. Tank Bigsby of Auburn, a 90. And that's where we will stop there with the 90-plus players. We do have a few fullbacks. You can see it's actually the top two fullbacks are both from Kansas State. Not a lot of fullbacks here on the rosters. Most teams don't use a fullback. Going to the wide receivers, already showed you these top few players. Keishawn Butte, a 95. Quentin Johnston of TCU, a 94. A.T. Perry of Wake Forest, a 93. Tavian Wicks, a 93. Keaton Thompson, a 93. Raheem Jarrett of Maryland, a 92. Xavier Hutchinson, a 92. Nathaniel Bell of Houston, a 91. We do have some, so we've had Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. Those are the group of 5 teams that have been updated. And then also independents, we have Notre Dame and BYU. There's Gary Bryant of USC to go along with Jordan Addison. Yeah, USC is going to have some pretty good wide receivers. Mitchell Tinsley, transfer coming into Penn State. He's a 90. Ryan O'Keefe, a 90 there for UCF. Nakua, a 90 for BYU. Probably said his name wrong. I apologize. Let's go now to the tight ends. There's Bowers and Mayer. Not going to have as many guys over 90, but Brant Keith is an 89. Darnell Washington, an 89. How about that tandem at Georgia with Bowers and Washington? And I'm just going to run through these. I can't remember exactly where his rating is. Eric Gilbert, an 85. That is that's a ridiculous trio of tight ends that Georgia has. Eric Gilbert, of course, we thought was going to move over to wide receiver, but man, his story has been crazy. We'll see if he actually plays this year. Going to the offensive line, I know you guys are not going to care as much about these offensive linemen, so I will just kind of quickly run through them. Not a lot of guys over 90 on the offensive line. More centers, it looks like. There's the right guards and the right tackles. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, Miles Murphy, the top defensive end. Well, on the left end, it doesn't really matter if it's left end or right end. Brenton Cox, Ron Stone Jr. of Washington State. As you take a look at some of these top defensive ends, O'Shawn Mathis transferred to Nebraska from TCU. Dante Steele is actually the top defensive end. And I think West Virginia actually uses a 3-man front, so he's really more of a defensive tackle. That's something that if you have if you have start 3 defensive linemen, so a 3-3, 3-3-5, or a 3-4 defense, then the right end is actually a defensive tackle for some of these teams. But that's the only way to make the game put the right players on the field. And you kind of have some issues in the secondary as well, depending on your playbook. So you take a look here at some of these other players. Again, some of these are defensive tackles. I get that. Defensive tackles here, which are sometimes nose tackles on some teams. You see those top players. How about Clemson with 2 94s in the middle? Yeah, that defensive line is going to be really good. And several guys here over 90. Moving on to the linebackers, we got Will Anderson. Peyton Wilson of NC State is up there. Notre Dame, Wisconsin. Moving to the middle linebackers, you see some of these top players. And I didn't mean for this video to be a very long video, but we are now over 10 minutes. So I'll kind of quickly go through the rest of these players just so you can see who the top players are based off of our ratings formula and how this game. There's Christopher Mull. I think he is actually not going to UCF, so I'm going to have to move him off of their roster, which reminds me of something I need to do. Going to the cornerbacks now, Eli Ricks, Cam Smith, Clark Phillips, Riley Moss. Take a look at all these corners. A lot of great cornerbacks this year. And then we'll move on to the safeties. Not a lot of free safeties up over 90. It's interesting how some positions have more than others. More strong safeties here as we take a look at some of these players. Some of these are like nickel backs, because if you run a 4-3 defense, the nickel has to be a strong. So it's confusing how the game works. So everything, and also if you see the years are updated to eligibility remaining, so it may not be the same as what's on the official roster or what their year is in school. Because of the COVID year, we had to make some adjustments, but they are correct as far as how much eligibility each player has remaining. And then we finish up with the punter. So those are the top players. We'll see if it plays out this way in real life. And if you, again, would like to get these rosters, all you have to do is join us on Patreon. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.